Imagine living in one of the hottest places on Earth, Arizona, where temperatures regularly hit over 110 degrees. Now picture surviving that intense heat without air conditioning. Sounds impossible, right? But for the Amish, it's just another day in their simple lives. The sun may be blazing outside, but inside, they're enjoying a surprisingly cool and comfortable space. How do they do it? No air conditioning, no modern gadgets, just age-old techniques in nature itself. The Amish have cracked the code for staying cool in the desert heat. And guess what? It's all about working with the environment, not against it. Stick around because what I'm about to share will change the way you think about surviving summer heat. And trust me, it's not what you'd expect. The Amish way, embracing the heat with tradition. All right, let's dive right into the heart of it. Arizona, the desert, a place where the sun doesn't just shine, it blasts. We're talking about temperatures that can easily soar over 110 degrees in the summer. If you were living there, what's the first thing you'd do? Crank up the air conditioner, right? It's the go-to solution for most of us. But what if I told you the Amish, who live in the Arizona heat, have found a completely different way to stay cool, without a single air conditioner running? It's true, and believe me, their approach is not only practical, but it's also downright brilliant. Let's take a closer look at their homes. These aren't the sleek, modern houses we see in cities today. The Amish have stuck to traditional building methods, using materials like clay, adobe, and wood to construct their homes. To some, these materials might seem old-fashioned or outdated, but they have one powerful thing in common. They're natural insulators. And no, I'm not talking about the kind of insulation we use in modern homes that's supposed to trap heat inside. The Amish approach works in reverse, keeping the inside of the house cool by blocking the relentless heat of the desert outside. The thick walls made of clay and adobe are incredible at absorbing heat during the day. But, and this is the cool part, they don't hold on to it forever. Instead, these materials gradually release the heat as the temperature drops at night, keeping the home's interior stable and comfortable. The heat doesn't penetrate deep inside, so the inside temperature stays cool, even when the desert sun is at its hottest. This isn't some newfangled tech or cutting-edge innovation. This is the genius of working with natural materials that have stood the test of time. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how does that actually work? Does it really keep the house cool in those sweltering days? And the answer is absolutely yes. When the sun is beating down and the outside temperature feels like it's pushing the limits, the clay and adobe walls act as a buffer. They're thick and solid, and they absorb the heat before it can reach the inside. But they're not just blocking the heat. They're controlling the temperature in a way that modern air conditioners could only dream of, without needing any energy at all. The result is a house that feels cool and comfortable, with little to no need for modern technology. Imagine that. No air conditioning bills, no worry about the system breaking down in the middle of the summer. Just pure, natural insulation that works with nature. It's kind of remarkable when you think about it. The Amish are living proof that sometimes the most effective solutions are the oldest ones. Their ability to stay cool in Arizona's blistering heat shows us that innovation doesn't always have to be high-tech. It can be rooted in simplicity, nature, and a deep understanding of how the world around us works. And the best part, it's completely sustainable. High ceilings, a simple yet powerful cooling trick. You know those moments when you walk into a room and instantly feel a little more relaxed because the temperature just feels right. Have you ever wondered why certain rooms just seem cooler than others, even though there's no air conditioning running? High ceilings are the secret behind this natural cooling effect, subtly transforming the way a room feels. They're one of the Amish's cleverest cooling tricks. If you've ever stepped into a room with high ceilings, you've probably noticed something a little different about the air. It's not just the space that feels more open and grander, but there's a certain feeling of coolness that seems to follow you around. It's almost like the heat has a hard time sticking around in a room with that much vertical space. That's not just in your head. There's a real reason for it. The Amish were definitely onto something when they started building their homes with high ceilings in Arizona's intense heat. In many homes today, high ceilings are all about making the space feel more luxurious or giving it a more airy vibe. But for the Amish, these high ceilings are so much more than just a design choice. They are a cooling tool that works in harmony with the natural flow of air. Let me explain. In any space, hot air rises. That's just how it works. When you have a room with a standard ceiling, all that hot air tends to get trapped at eye level or lower, which makes the room feel stuffy and uncomfortable. But when the ceiling is higher, that hot air has more room to rise and disperse. This simple concept gives the cool air a chance to stay lower in the room where you are. Picture this. It's an unforgiving 100-degree day outside, and you step into one of those Amish homes. The first thing you might expect is a blast of hot, thick air that greets you at the door, right? But no, when you walk into their homes, the temperature actually feels more pleasant. That's because the high ceilings allow the warm air to rise to the top, leaving the cool air nearer to the ground, where it can be felt instantly. It's almost as if they've created their own natural air conditioning system without even needing to plug anything in. Now, this might sound simple, but think about it. When you're living in a place where the temperatures can easily hit unbearable highs, every little trick counts. The Amish have made the most of a very straightforward design element. By just raising the height of the ceilings, they've found a way to naturally keep their homes cooler, even when the sun is blazing down outside. They didn't need to invent anything complicated. They simply took advantage of nature's basic principles. They've mastered the art of making their homes feel cooler without needing modern, energy-draining air conditioning systems. It's a genius move that's been around for centuries, proving once again that sometimes the simplest ideas are the most effective. The tree trick. Nature's own shade. Let's talk about one of the Amish's most brilliant, yet often overlooked tricks for staying cool in the desert heat. Trees. Yes, trees. The Amish have turned landscaping into a strategic science, and their secret weapon isn't some modern irrigation system or high-tech gadgetry. It's nature itself, specifically the trees they plant around their homes. To the untrained eye, these trees might just seem like a charming addition to their properties, but there's a method behind the greenery. The Amish don't plant trees randomly or just to beautify the landscape. They plant them with a clear and deliberate purpose in mind: shade. You see, the desert sun in Arizona is no joke. It beats down relentlessly, turning everything in its path into a furnace. The heat is intense, the kind that makes you want to melt into the ground. However, the Amish have figured out a way to reduce the amount of direct sunlight hitting their homes. They position trees with precision, just the right distance from the house and at the ideal angle to block the sun. This simple step makes a huge difference in how cool their homes stay, and it's all thanks to those trees. But here's where things get really fascinating. While the trees are providing much-needed shade, they're also doing something far more magical. Through a natural process called evapotranspiration, the trees release moisture from their leaves into the surrounding air. This process works a bit like nature's own air conditioning system. As the trees release moisture, they help cool down the air around them, making the space feel fresher and cooler. Now picture this for a second. It's a scorching day in Arizona, and the air is heavy and hot. But as you approach an Amish home, something feels different. The air around you feels cooler, fresher, almost like a gentle breeze. You may think it's just the shade, But it's actually a combination of the tree's natural cooling process and the reduction in direct sunlight. The shaded areas around their homes are filled with cooler, fresher air, and all of it is thanks to these strategically placed trees. Think about it this way. If you're out in the sun on a blistering hot day, you can often feel the temperature drop the moment you step under the shade of a tree. The air feels lighter and more breathable, almost like the tree is offering you a welcome respite from the heat. That's the power of nature at work, and the Amish have figured out how to harness it to keep their homes cool in a way that requires no modern technology. It's one of the oldest, most sustainable cooling methods available, and yet it's often overlooked in favor of more energy-intensive solutions. The Amish, however, have a deep understanding of how to live in harmony with nature, and they've been using trees to cool their homes for generations. It's a practice that not only keeps their homes cooler, but also helps the environment by promoting healthy ecosystems. These trees offer shade, clean the air, and support biodiversity, all while keeping the Amish cool without the need for air conditioning. But it doesn't stop there. The Amish understand the broader impact of their tree strategy. Planting trees around their homes isn't just about keeping cool. It's about fostering a sustainable, eco-friendly environment. The trees don't just provide shade and cool the air. They also help with soil conservation, reduce erosion, and offer habitats for birds and other wildlife. They create a balanced, thriving ecosystem that benefits both the Amish and the land they live on. When you look at the Amish approach to landscaping, you can't help but admire their simplicity and wisdom. They don't need fancy technology to stay cool in the extreme heat. They simply rely on the power of trees and their understanding of nature's ability to refresh and protect. It's all part of their philosophy of living in harmony with the world around them, using what nature has to offer to make life easier, more comfortable, and sustainable. The next time you feel the heat, think about the Amish and how they've mastered the art of using the environment to their advantage. They've created a cooling system that requires no energy, no machines, just the power of trees. And that is nature's own air conditioner. It's a perfect example of how simplicity, wisdom, and respect for the environment can create a lifestyle that's not just survivable, but thriving. Natural ventilation, letting the breeze do the work. All right, let's move on to something truly fascinating, airflow. Now, we all know air conditioning can save the day when the temperature spikes. But what if I told you there's a simpler, more sustainable way to keep your house cool? And get this, it costs absolutely nothing. Enter the Amish in their ingenious method of natural ventilation, which relies solely on the power of a breeze. It's a technique so simple yet effective that it might just make you rethink your dependency on AC. The key to their strategy? Opening windows. Yes, you heard me right. While most of us are busy cranking up the air conditioning or spending a fortune on cooling systems, the Amish are getting by with one of nature's most basic resources, wind. The Amish have mastered the art of aligning windows on opposite sides of their homes in a way that creates a cross breeze. What happens next is nothing short of brilliant. The cool air enters from one side of the house, and as it travels through the rooms, it pushes out the hot, stale air on the other side. This creates a natural flow of air that helps cool down the entire house, sometimes without the need for anything else. It's a method that relies entirely on the principles of physics. Cold air sinks, hot air rises, and all the Amish do is use that knowledge to their advantage. The result is a cool, comfortable home, even on the hottest days, with no energy bills to worry about. Now, if you've ever experienced the joy of standing in front of an open window on a breezy day, you know just how refreshing it can be. But the Amish take this simple idea to the next level. By positioning their windows strategically, they can harness the power of the wind and turn their homes into natural air conditioners. Imagine walking into a house that's been cooled entirely by the wind, with no machines involved, just a clever use of the environment. This natural ventilation system doesn't require any costly equipment, maintenance, or energy consumption. In fact, it's completely free. All it takes is the right design and a little help from nature. The Amish have been using this technique for generations, and it's one of the most sustainable ways to keep their homes comfortable. While modern air conditioning relies on electricity and chemicals, the Amish simply open their windows and let the breeze do all the hard work. Think about it. Every time the wind picks up and a fresh breeze rolls through the house, the Amish know exactly what's happening. They've created a ventilation system that uses the environment to its fullest potential. They're living proof that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. So the next time you're sitting in a stuffy room, sweating under the harsh sun, think about the Amish and their natural ventilation. Maybe it's time to start opening a few more windows. Summer kitchens, keeping cooking heat outside. Let's take a moment to talk about another clever solution the Amish have perfected: summer kitchens. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is a summer kitchen? Well, in the blistering heat of Arizona, cooking indoors can feel like the last thing you'd want to do. Imagine already sweltering heat outside, and then you fire up the stove or oven. What does that do? It turns your entire house into an oven, adding even more heat to the already oppressive air. But here's where the Amish are genius in their simplicity. They don't cook in the main house during the summer months. They have a separate space entirely designed for cooking. These summer kitchens are typically located outside the main house, often in a shaded area or a specially designated structure. The idea is simple. By moving the cooking activities outdoors, the Amish can prepare meals without overheating their living spaces. So, while you might be stuck with the heat of your stove or oven radiating through the house, the Amish are keeping things cool inside by keeping their kitchens out of the main house altogether. What's even more brilliant is that these summer kitchens are usually built in a way that maximizes airflow and minimizes heat buildup. The Amish aren't just thinking about their comfort in the moment. They're thinking about how to prevent the inside of their home from becoming a sauna, which allows them to keep their living spaces comfortable and pleasant. This design not only prevents additional heat from entering the home, but also makes the cooking experience more bearable. By removing the heat-producing appliances from the main house, the Amish can keep their homes cool and their kitchens functional, even when the outside temperature is scorching. It's the ultimate example of how a little planning and forethought can help maintain a comfortable home in the toughest conditions. But the beauty of the summer kitchen isn't just in its practical application. It's also about the Amish's broader approach to living with nature, not against it. They've designed their homes and lifestyles in such a way that they don't need to rely on modern cooling systems or high-tech gadgets. So the next time you're sweating in the kitchen on a hot day, think of the Amish and their summer kitchens. They've figured out how to make cooking work in extreme heat without sacrificing comfort inside their homes. It's one more way they've mastered the art of living cool, even when the outside temperature says otherwise. Simplicity and harmony with nature. Let's zoom out for a moment and see the bigger picture. The Amish aren't just surviving the brutal Arizona heat, they're thriving in it. Their approach to living in such an extreme climate isn't about battling against nature or relying on modern technology to fight the heat. Instead, they've crafted a way of life that works with the environment, leveraging the natural world to keep their homes cool and their lives pleasant. And honestly, there's something incredibly refreshing about that. We live in a world where air conditioning has become a necessity for many, where thermostats dictate the comfort of our homes and our lives revolve around technology to make things bearable. But the Amish? They've taken a different route. They don't need to crank up the AC or install expensive cooling systems. They've designed their homes to stay naturally cool, using traditional techniques that don't require any electricity, machinery, or even modern building materials. Keeping things cool without a refrigerator. Now let's dig into how the Amish manage to keep things cool without relying on refrigerators. Because the way they do it is nothing short of genius. Most of us are used to running to the store when the ice packs run out or cranking up the fridge to keep our food fresh. But the Amish have a whole different way of handling this. Their solution goes back to a time when the phrase living off the grid didn't even exist, because they were already doing it. The Amish utilize ice houses. But hold on, these aren't your everyday run-of-the-mill storage units. We're talking about deep insulated pits buried underground, where large blocks of ice, harvested during the winter months, are stored to last through the hot summer months. Think of it like a pre-electricity freezer that works just by nature's clever design. While most of us are scrambling for ice bags in the blazing sun, the Amish have massive blocks of ice packed under the earth, carefully preserved with straw or sawdust. This ancient technique keeps their food cool for months. Yes, months, without the need for an electric-powered fridge. The best part? It doesn't contribute to global warming. No hum of a refrigerator, no energy bills, just pure, old-fashioned ingenuity. But here's the kicker. The whole concept of using ice houses ties directly into the Amish philosophy of living in sync with nature. Instead of fighting the elements, they use them to their advantage. Cross breezes in their homes, shaded tree canopies, and now, ice houses. Nature doesn't have to be conquered. It just needs to be understood and respected. The Amish know how to do just that. It's a simple life. No frills, no fuss. Just good old-fashioned common sense. And let's be real, how many of us could survive in Arizona without air conditioning? The Amish are proving that with a little resourcefulness, you can thrive without the fancy gadgets we've all come to depend on. Their ability to adapt without relying on modern technology is an inspiring reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. In a world where we're often looking for bigger, faster, and more advanced solutions, the Amish have found a way to embrace the heat without stressing out. They've mastered the art of living simply, using what nature gives them to stay comfortable and cool. And in a world full of noise and complexity, that's something we could all learn from. So next time you're cranking up the AC and feeling like you're battling the heat, think about the Amish and their simple, yet genius methods for staying cool. No fancy technology, no energy-draining machines, just nature, simplicity, and time-tested solutions that have stood the test of time. They've found a way to live in harmony with their environment. Maybe there's something we can all learn from their sustainable, no-frills approach. Sometimes, the coolest solutions aren't the ones that need electricity. They're the ones that use what nature's already giving us. So the next time the temperature rises, consider stepping back into a simpler, cooler way of living, Amish style. You might just be surprised at how effective it can be. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on new uploads.